Today we will be making a simple inventory system. So firstly drag out the objects that you are going to collect and place box colliders on each object. You should tag the object as well. You can do that by clicking on the Untagged button on the top left part of the Inspector tab and selecting the tag for each of the objects. After you are done with setting the object that the player is going to collect down on the floor, you should position the weapons from the player's perspective and attach them to the camera. After positioning, then turn off the object. Okay, here is how our inventory system is going to work. When we left click on the mouse, we will shoot a ray. When the ray hits the object that we have placed just now, it will collect the object. There is an integer variable that keeps track of how many weapons you have. And each weapon has its own integer variables. If the weapon is collected, then it will add an extra number onto the integer variable that keeps track of how many weapons you have. The specific weapon integer will be used to determine what key the player must press to equip the weapon. Now if we open the script, we should declare all the variables of weapons, the number of weapons that the player has collected, and the variable that determines which keys the player presses to use the weapons. Also declare a Boolean variable of whether the player has weapons. Under the transform.tag equals to enemies, check whether the player has collected the weapon yet, and then if clicked on the enemies, then the enemy will disappear. Then copy the transform.tag equal to the enemy and paste it 3 times. After that, change it into the specific tag that has been assigned into each of the weapons. Then we will check if the weapon collected is the first weapon to be collected. If it is the first one, then the object will be equipped once it has been collected. Paste them to each of the if statements of the other weapons. Then inside the brackets of the collected weapons, we will make sure the amount of weapons that has been collected will increment by 1 if the weapon is collected. And then we will determine the value and integer of the specific weapon by equating it to the number of weapons collected plus 1. Then we will make sure to tell the game that we have collected the weapons and we can now attack the enemy. Then we will go under the physics raycast if statement, and in the void update function we type in if bracket input dot get key down brackets the weapon integer dot to string brackets. When the player presses the number that we have assigned from the collection on the keyboard, the weapons will be equipped and other weapons will be unequipped. Paste that 3 times and specify the variables to the respective weapon. Now when we go to the editor, drag the weapons that have been attached to the camera to the script. We see that I pick up the weapon based on chronological order. When I press 1, I equip the sword, and when I press 2, I equip the rapier, and press 3, I equip the axe. When I replay again and I collect the rapier is equipped as the default weapon, and press 2, I get the axe. This is how you create an inventory system.